My mom and dad, I knew I could never make amends to them. I'd gone too far. But the people in Alcoholics Anonymous didn't care what I thought. And they said, we're going to do these actions anyway. And one of the first things they had me do was they had me start writing notes and little letters to my mom. And I thought, it's not going to do any good. They said, just do it anyway. And we want you to call your mom and don't call her collect. Remember, I'll never forget this first phone call. I said, Mom, how you doing? She says, Rob, is that you? I said, yeah, Mom. She says, are you in Pennsylvania? I said, no, Mom, I'm in Nevada. But the operator didn't come on and ask me to pay for the call. No, I paid for the call. You paid for the call? She couldn't believe it. I always called collect. My parents were the welfare state or something, you know. I had a sense of entitlement, you know. They owe me for bringing me into this lousy world against my will. They owed me. And you guys encouraged me to start taking actions that were different than anything I'd ever taken with them. And I started writing them letters, and I started sending them pictures. When I was a year sober, my family didn't believe that I was really sober. Because, you know, one of the worst things I did is I kept telling them I've straightened out, and then I hadn't. You know, I'd lie to them over and over. And I'm talking to them on the phone. They said, we're going to come out to Las Vegas. We've never seen Las Vegas. And they're coming out to see me, but they're coming out with an attitude of, you know, he's probably a bum. He's probably conning us. But hey, if we get out there and he's conning us, we've never been to Vegas. It's not a total loss. I mean, right? Right. So they fly out to Las Vegas and they're staying at the Stardust Hotel. And I took them out to dinner with my first sponsor and his wife. I took them to my home group. And they saw me when I was with you. And I've never been better than when I'm with you. And I tell you, my parents loved going to Amy's. They wanted to go every day. After a few days, I didn't offer to take them to a meeting. They called me up. They said, aren't we going to a meeting today? I said, well, I thought, you know, it's not really, you're not alcoholics. I thought maybe it'd be boring to you. No, we really want to go. They loved AA. My mom and dad would sit there and they'd laugh like hell. They never heard anything so funny as some of the stuff we did. And then I remember watching them across the room one time. Some guy's in the meeting talking about getting his kids back, and they're tearing up. Oh, this is great. They just loved Alcoholics Anonymous. The last day, the day before they left, I had my amends list, and I owed my father a lot of money. You know, when the times when I was going to go to jail, and he paid my fines for me, and loaned me the money, or I was going to be out in the streets again, and he loaned me the money to pay the rent, and he did that for years. And it was a lot of money. I mean, it was such a large amount of money. I figured it out. It was going to take me 12 and a half years to pay him back. And I had a game plan. As they told me today, they say you make a plan. And they say you sold your integrity a nickel and a dime at a time, and you're going to buy it back a nickel and a dime at a time. And I had my payment plan. I sat down in the Stardust coffee shop with my mom and dad, and I told them what I'm trying to do. I said, I want to pay you back this money I borrowed off you. And here's my plan. And they looked at each other and they kind of smiled and they were holding hands. And my father says to me, he says, Rob, he said, we don't want you to pay the money back. He said, we don't know what this AA thing's all about really, but I'll tell you, this is the first time in years we've ever had any hope that you were going to be okay. Something's different about you. And I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, I want you to just don't forget about the money. Just keep doing this AA thing. And that's all we want you to do. And man, I walked away from there. I'm on cloud 9. I'm thinking, I like this amends stuff, man. This is good. It was like hitting the lottery. And I'm on my way to my sponsor's office to tell him the good news. And on the way, I'm thinking about other people I owe money to, if I could get them to see the light like I got my parents to see the light. And I get to my sponsor's office and I'm telling him, hey, my dad says I don't have to pay him. Isn't this great? My sponsor says, it doesn't matter what your dad says. It's your debt. You owe him. You got to find a way to pay him. I thought, what? He says, really? This is not about your dad. This is about you and your integrity. You had borrowed that money. You got to pay it back. I said, well, I can't. He won't take it. He told me he wouldn't. If I send him a check every month, he's not going to use it. He doesn't need the money, really. He said, you got to find a way. And if God will provide the wherever, he will make it possible. I said, all right, but I don't know see how I'm going to do this. He said, just trust me. God will show you a way. I was working for a little over minimum wage at a store as a cashier. My father had one hobby. It was almost an obsession with him. He collected coins, old silver coins and silver certificates and the old gold certificates and war nickels and wheat pennies and all that stuff. I'd just sit at the kitchen table for hours with those books and putting those coins in those books and making catalogs of everything he had in his coin collection. He loved that stuff. And I'm working as a cashier back in the late 70s, and every single day I get silver coins and war nickels and silver certificates are coming through that register. And I thought to myself one day, maybe I could start saving this stuff for my dad. And I went to my boss and I said, do you mind if I buy this stuff out of the register, if I could put it aside and then when I get paid, buy it? And he said, boss said, I don't care. I don't save that stuff. And I started saving rare coins and old silver coins and silver certificates. And it took me it's a funny thing, this amends thing. When I start paying the money back and start heading in the direction of making it right, all of a sudden the universe becomes a very friendly place. And I started getting raises and bonuses. There was a guy in my AA group that had a moving business. He used to pay me $100 cash for a couple hours work, helping him move furniture. And what would have taken 12 and a half years, in about 4 years, I saved up at face value in old silver coins and silver certificates what I owed my father. And I was able to give that to him. And I was able to give it to him knowing he would take that. He wouldn't have sent it back. It'd be like a crack addict sending back an 8-ball. You know, we couldn't have done it. And my father died the year after I gave him that. And I remember flying back to Pennsylvania to be with my mother and my sister. And I remember mourning the loss of my father. And I knew something inside me as I knew that I was alive. I knew that my father knew that I loved him. And that my father knew that I knew that he loved me. And there was no ghosts. We were even. And I know what it's like to have people die and live with their ghosts. When my grandfather died, the ghosts of the things I did to him. And the ghosts of the things I never said. And the ghosts of all the unresolved stuff between me and him haunted me, until I eventually did what it talks about in the big book and wrote him a letter. And I think that sometimes the amends part of Alcoholics Anonymous is possibly the most important thing we do here, is to clear away that wreckage.